Mahalo, Marisa, and mahalo to the team of the Weinberg Foundation for everything you've done to bring us all together tonight. So on Sunday evening, I called my mom to debrief Thanksgiving. Anybody gave someone a call this weekend to debrief Thanksgiving? And the conversation started, I said, Mom, have you heard of the social media trend right now? We listen and we don't judge. And she was like, no. I was like, well, basically that's it, okay? I need you to listen and not judge. And if I start to sound like I'm being judgy, just listen and don't judge me for being judgy. But, I'm just processing my observations. Observations with opinions. We listen and we don't judge. I bring this up because when I met with Marisa, Kelly, and Aaron earlier last week to prepare for tonight, Marisa said, we'd love for you to share about Vibrant Hawaiʻi and the lessons that you've learned and your experiences working with community and with youth. And I was like, oh, great. What a relief. I don't need to sound smart. I just need to let everyone know how often I failed. So here are 5 lessons that have been lovingly taught to me by my community. And please, we listen and we don't judge. In 2018, I was a part of a small group of Hawaii Island folks that came together with data from the Alice Report. And we met with business and government and nonprofit leaders to share the data. And then we met with folks identified as experts by experience, the working poor, and we asked them to share their story of struggle with us. And this is where we learned the phrase broke but not broken. Because over and over when we met with people across our rural communities, what we heard from them is, surprise, like, oh, we don't feel poor. And in fact, when I was in Ka'u, where the data said that they were 77% Alice and in poverty, and I stood there with my PowerPoint and my infographics and my data, about to ask them how they would like to transform their community, the kupuna told me, sit down, we like it like this. And being the good facilitator that I am, I whipped out my pen and I went to the white paper, the chart paper, and I wrote down, we like it like this. And I underlined it and I said, did I capture this correctly? And they're like, yes, sit down. And so I did. And they continued to tell me about Ka'u and the way that they operate with reciprocity and the pride that they have in their community, and the way that they operate with abundance, and the way they operate from an asset-based perspective, where one person helps to fix someone's car while someone else watches the kids, and one person raises kalo, and the other person goes fishing, and they like it like that. And then we heard from someone in Puna, where their data showed that they were 78% Alice in poverty. And a young woman named Lawa'e Kekahuna said to me, we might be the worst when it comes to income, but we're the best when it comes to ohana. None of us are making it on our own, and all of us are making it because of ohana. And I paused, and a mentor shared with me the first lesson. And she said, sometimes you need to change the community, but sometimes you need to be changed by the community, because what they're saying is, that's not going to work for me. And change is hard. And we had to decide if we were going to forge ahead with our framework and our plan to end poverty and our data-driven, evidence-based, all of that stuff, or if we were going to listen and allow our plans to be changed by the community. The very ones that we called experts. And change is hard, especially when you're the one that has to change. But we had to ask, really, did we invite our community to simply validate what we thought we already knew? I mean, did we essentially go into spaces and say, can you please tell me in your own words why you need me to save you from yourself? Lesson number 2, there's a very fine line between doing what is good and doing what is right. And I learned this from Aina, standing across the street of our house at a place called Boiling Pots. And so my husband Daryl and I live in Pi'ihonua. We are just a short walk away from this place called Boiling Pots, and there's a plaque there, and it tells the mo'olelo of the place. And the mo'olelo says that Hina, the mother of Maui, lived in a cave just down the stream, down the river. It's called Wailuku. It means raging river of death. Please don't go into it. Hina lived down the river in a cave, and there was this mo'o who was basically being a punk. And the mo'o walled up the water so that it was rising and going into Hina's cave. And as the water is rising, Hina is calling out to her son, Maui, who happened to be over on Maui at the time, to come and help her, come and save her. And so Maui comes over and he starts to scrap with this mo'o, and the mo'o dives under the water and is hiding in one of the underground caves. And Maui can't get to him, so Maui then calls out to Pele to come and help. So Pele comes on the scene and she starts to boil the water until it becomes so uncomfortable for the mo'o that he comes out of his cave from under the water, and Maui gives him the bash, and then end of the story, Maui's happy, Hina's happy, the mo'o is taken care of. So I'm standing there reading this plaque as I had read many times before, and this question comes to me: who are you in this story? And I thought, well, I'm trying to help my community. Obviously, I'm Maui. And the echo came back, oh, interesting. Now, let me just tell you, that is Aina's way of looking and being like, we listen and we don't judge. So in the discomfort of the listening, I came to realize that my role and what I'm being called to do is not to come in and be Maui. My role is more like that of Pele, because Pele doesn't come until she's first invited. And so in this work, it's important to be invited. And second, when Pele arrives, she doesn't take over the whole story. She doesn't infuse so much right answer so that she becomes the hero. She only provides enough so that Maui is able to do what he was called to do, and Maui is able to be the hero of the story. There's a fine line between doing what is good and doing what is right. And so our question shifted at that time in our community from how do we end poverty to what is wealth. And we went around the island and asked folks to draw their vision of a vibrant, thriving, abundant community and to share stories about what they drew. And what we realized very quickly after we met with over 100 people who shared, we get a lot of Portuguese on Hawaiʻi Island. Everybody had choke stories. And had choke. And we were like, dang, this is incredibly complex. This is incredibly complex. And here's what we learned in that. Ending poverty is a relatively simple equation. It comes down basically to increasing income and decreasing expenses. And oftentimes focusing on that equation makes you pick sides and makes you point the finger at the other side and tell them what to do. And we literally had dialogues happening. You should pay more. No, you shouldn't have Toyota Tacoma. These were actual quotes coming from people when we were focusing the dialogue on poverty. When we shifted to the dialogue about wealth, abundance, and prosperity, and we began asking people, what is it that you want to contribute to this vision that we all have? It opened up. We learned that from community, it's about living aloha. is about belonging, awamokoleana, equity, reciprocity, strong ohana. Aina is relationship and not as resource. And how do we achieve that? And here's lesson number 3. We need everyone. We each hold one piece that is a part of something bigger. And so we were committed to inviting everyone, and we were feeling really good about how we were demonstrating diversity and inclusion, and we were collecting data on this. And in fact, when we'd open up a meeting, we would ask folks, could you please share your name and the sector that you're here representing? And we always wanted to be sure that we had people there present who were there representing poverty, because we were committed to this. Until one day, as we were going around the circle and people were introducing themselves, and someone said, I am so-and-so, I'm here from the university, and I'm so-and-so, and I'm here from the mayor's office, and I'm so-and-so from Kamehameha Schools, and I'm so-and-so from this business. And a woman stopped and she said, you know, every single time we do this, and it comes to me, and I have to say my name and the title that I've been invited with, which is, and I am so-and-so, and I'm here to represent our community and poverty. I feel like that's the only thing that I'm allowed to contribute to this conversation. And I have so much more to contribute than just my experience of living in poverty. I have so much more to share towards this work, this vision, than the lens that you see me through and the bucket that you keep me in. I have so much more to offer. Our former mayor and founding board member of Vibrant Hawaiʻi, Billy Kinoi, shared lesson number 4. And it was actually at a dedication of a permanent supportive housing project that I heard this when I was still working with Brandy at Hope Services. And he said, everybody just wants to know that we get chance and we get choice. Chance is equitable access to opportunities and resources, and choice is our individual agency. And my own story of get chance, get choice happened when I was 25 years old. I was a young single mother with no higher education, no connection to my culture. I was on welfare, and needless to say, I was feeling like a complete failure. And in a moment of desperation to find childcare, I applied for Punana Leo Ohilo. And in that interview, the kahu, Da Pavao, said to me, everybody who comes to Punana Leo has to contribute, so how are you going to contribute? And I said to him, I don't have anything to contribute. I'm on welfare. I don't have a higher education. I didn't grow up speaking Hawaiian. I have nothing. And he said, if you want to belong, you need to contribute. So go back and think about it. And I was desperate. So I thought hard. And I went back to him and I said, okay, I can cook Hawaiian food once a month for the keiki. And he was like, right on, you in. So I learned how to make kalua pig in a crock pot. Secret ingredient, liquid smoke. And I learned how to make haupia, and I would go to the store and buy a bag of poi every month. And I would take my crock pot and my pan of haupia and my bag of poi, and I would feed the kids lunch once a month. And that was a turning point for me. And I thought, if I could do this small thing that can make a difference, what is the next thing I could do? What's the next small thing I could do? And so here's lesson number 5. We're getting to the end. There's a Hawaiian proverb, and olelo no eau, it says, e ho'i ka piko. It means to return to the source. And in Hawaiian worldview, a person has 3 piko. Piko i, our spiritual connection. When it is open, we are connected to intuition and inspiration. When we are disconnected from our piko i, we operate with judgment. And we say things like, they should just. E ho'i ka piko. Return to our source, we suspend judgment, and we carve out new paths with curiosity. Our piko'o, located at our navel, connects us to our people and our practices, our ancestors and our culture. When we are disconnected from our piko'o, we operate with cynicism. It becomes us versus them. We stay in our silos. We say things like, those people. We return to our source by suspending cynicism and carving out new paths with compassion. And our piko'a, the place of our reproductive organs that connect us to future generations and by extension, all that we create and establish. Our piko'a represents our will. When it's blocked, we operate with fear, but we return to our source by suspending fear and carving out new paths with courage. Suspend and carve, suspend and carve. And the Hawaiian word for suspend is ku, and the Hawaiian word for carve is ka. Ku, ka, ku, ka. How do we transform complex systems towards both abundance and thriving? Lesson 5, ku ka, ku ka. We listen and we don't judge. As we look toward the future, I know many of us are contemplating what may be beyond our influence and ability to control, what may be just around the corner in 2025. And so I'd like to close with this story. A few years ago, at the height of the pandemic, there was a number of firefighters who tragically and suddenly passed away. And one of the captains came to one of our Vibrant Hawaiʻi meetings and was saying how her team was just really struggling, walking through this grief with the loss that they were experiencing. And she wanted to take them down to Waipi'o to be in the lo'i. And she said, I know it would be so good for them. It would be so healing. And she went to her captain and asked, or she went to a chief and asked, and he was like, dang, I wish I could support. I think would be good too, but unfortunately, no more evidence to support that. So the best we can provide beyond our EAP is probably like yoga. And she was super bummed, and she was telling us this story, and I was like, if only thing that's stopping us is evidence, let's just go get the evidence. And she was like, yeah, let's go get the evidence. And they was like, dang, but we also need funding to get the evidence. And for a couple of years, we were going around asking who would like to support this pilot study of looking at the mental health impacts of being in these cultural spaces and involved in these cultural practices. We just wrapped the study a few months ago, and just last night got on a call to look over our manuscript, and we're preparing to submit it to be published. And it was so amazing to have this data from our first responders, 50 firefighters that participated in this study over 6 weeks. 2 of our lokoi'a, one in Hilo, Haleolono, and Huialoha Kiholo on the west side. But this is the story that one of the firefighters shared that I think can help to guide all of us in times of uncertainty. He said, at the end of our time at the lokoi'a, the kia'i lehua taught us this chant, and we stand around the area of the wall that we rebuilt, and we tap on the rocks that we placed, and we do this chant. And what lehua told us is the reason why we do this work. And she said, one day the storm is going to come and the waves are going to come and it's going to destroy everything that we just built. But that's why this is called a practice, because we commit to keep showing up and keep doing the work no matter how many times what we build gets knocked down and destroyed. It's a practice. And the reason we do this practice is because we know our children are watching. And so, dear friends and change makers, no matter what it is that is coming ahead, in 2025. I encourage us all to commit to the practice and know that just like in life, we build and restore, and when things fall apart, we practice again. Ahiki ke aloha aina hopiloa. Mahalo nui.